I've been left alone to walk the empty alleys of my soul, and I've been left alone, trapped inside this labyrinth I call home. Thought I was the hero, but now I'm sure I'm the monster. 'Cause my mind is a haunted mansion, inside, 'cause it's screaming all your life. My heart is a torture chamber. I'm the one that's locked inside, and I'm chained to all your life, chained to all your life. escapes my heart too often. And I'm afraid to care, 'cause if I care, my heart would tear wide open. 'Cause I've hurt so many hearts with foolish love and foolish care that only left me with more scars. And I've run away so long from anyone who thought love and care aren't difficult things at all. I'm sorry, maybe this is who I am. I'm sorry, if you leave me here I'll understand. I'm sorry, maybe this is who I am. I'm sorry, if you leave me here I'll understand. Satisfaction, 'cause I've hurt so many hearts, foolish faith and foolish doubt that only left me with more scars. And I've run away so long from anyone with all the faith and doubt aren't difficult things at all. And I'm sorry, maybe this is who I am. I'm sorry, if you leave me here I'll understand. I'm sorry, maybe this is who I am. I'm sorry, if you leave me here I'll understand. What I can't understand is why I see you with an outstretched hand. You're telling me to rise above it. Or maybe I could get to see your plan if I got my head out of the sand. You're telling me to rise above it, but I'm sorry. I'm still afraid to love, and I'm scared to face the wrong direction. I'm still afraid to love, love, oh love is chasing after me.
and welcome back to Real Week. I'm really glad that you've tuned in for another night of exploring what the Christian faith has to say about life's big questions.
Apparently another night of really bad real puns. We did warn you back on the first night this might happen. Hello, my name's Silas.
And I'm Laura.
And we are your hosts once again for this evening. Now, before we get started, we're going to do something slightly different. Laura, do you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, before we kick off tonight's schedule, we actually have a Slido poll for you guys to take part in, and it is in the Facebook comments, I believe. But if you can't see that, you can go to slido.com and put in the code REALNIGHT3, and we'll have a look at those responses a little later, because it's what are you most looking forward to doing post-lockdown, which is what I think some of us have thought about quite a lot recently. So feel free to go and tell us on that Slido poll. But Silas, do you want to tell us what's been going on so far this week?
Yes, so in case you've missed it, this is Real Week. We are on to day 3. So on Monday, we had a fantastic talk from Fergal looking at real... Oh, I've forgotten, that's bad. That's embarrassing. What was on Monday? Real purpose. Oh, gosh.
It's been a long week so far, is it?
I'm trying not to look at these. Looking at real purpose. And then last night, Luke was talking to us about injustice and what the Bible has to say about it. We've also had a bunch of lunch bars. So we've been looking at the reliability of the Bible. We've been looking at suffering. And then today's lunch bar was titled, Does Christianity Restrict My Freedom? And if you've missed any of these recordings, you can go and catch up on them. They are on the Facebook page already, and I think they're going to be made available on the YouTube channel by the end of the week. So yeah, if you missed them, go and catch up. Or if you want to hear them again, go and have a revisit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Before we continue, can I ask you the question that was for our Slido poll before we have a look at what other people have said? What are you most looking forward to doing post-lockdown 3, I think we're calling this now?
Is that an official name?
I'm not sure. We're going to call it that. What are you looking forward to doing post-lockdown 3?
I'm really looking forward to seeing my family. I didn't actually go home and see them over Christmas. And so I have not seen them since the beginning of September when I came back to Cardiff. So no, really looking forward to seeing them. I was chatting to my dad the other day about the fact that it's probably the longest we've gone without seeing each other, which is, I don't know. I'm quite close to my family. I quite miss them.
might get a bit emotional up on stage in a second. Shall we have a look at what other people have responded?
What's your answer?
Oh, my answer has got to be the same as well. I'm really looking forward to my family being able to come back up to Cardiff and to be able to show them a bit more around the city. Because I've only been able to do that once in first year. And I'm really looking forward to being able to do that again and just being able to travel back to London without worrying about when I'm going to be able to get back again. So I think that's what I'm most looking forward to. Yeah.
Boom.
Let's have a look at these responses. Oh, we've got a very big one. I think a lot of people have responded going to the beach, which sounds like a nice idea. That's also something I'm looking forward to. What else have we got?
Lots of hugging. Now I'm a big hugger, so I've been suffering throughout these lockdowns with social distancing. So I can relate to all you huggers out there.
Yeah. My phone is having a moment, so I wonder if you could tell us what else you can see on there.
I mean, just going through them, we've got food. I mean, just to let you know, you are allowed to eat during lockdown.
Yeah, please do. We encourage that.
There's no restriction on your consumption of food. I imagine you mean eating out in places.
I've got a coffee, and I relate to that, although you are also able to make coffee at home, but I do understand. I can't wait to be able to go back into a coffee shop and take my laptop and potentially do work / kind of just people watch and read a good book.
And then we've got lots of seeing my best friend, hugging people, seeing people, going to a music concert. Now that I'm looking forward to concerts being back up and running.
Great.
Definitely. We've got summer holidays, hot chocolate, travel, exploring Wales. Yes.
Yeah. We've got specific hot chocolate at the table. We do really love the table. So I completely get that. I can't wait for the table to be back open. If you haven't visited the table and you live in Cardiff, or even if you don't live in Cardiff, when it's safe to do so, do come to Cardiff and visit the table. It is totally worth it.
Other cafes are available.
Also available.
We've got lots of pub and pubs coming up in here. We've also got a lot of church, which is fantastic. We've also got seeing Johnny, and I assume that means Johnny Rhodes. who is a wonderful housemate of mine. And so, I mean,
A special shout out to him.
I get to see him every day. It's a total treat.
Oh, lucky you.
I know. I'm sorry you don't get to see him every day.
No. We've also got seeing Katie Elder specifically as well. That's lovely.
Very
And
lovely.
exploring Wales. And a very nice one to finish on, I think. Hugging my granny. That's,
Oh, are we finishing on that one? Because
Is there another nice one, a really nice one that we can finish on?
I think someone is really keen about rugby because rugby has come up very consistently now. Rugby, park run, pub, rugby.
Parkrun. Interesting.
Right. I think we should move on. We could be here for a long time reading through those. But I mean, what is obvious from looking at that is that we're all looking forward to something outside of lockdown.
Yeah.
Be it, whatever. I won't go back into it. So we're going to move on to tonight's event, all about freedom.
Yeah, so as we've mentioned, this is our main meeting for day 3, and it's going to follow the same structure as Monday night's meeting. So we'll shortly be watching a video of Jerry's story, hearing about how tonight's topic of freedom has impacted her and her Christian faith.
And then following on from that, we'll be hearing from Fergal again, who also spoke on Monday, and he'll just be talking again about freedom. But we'll reintroduce him again shortly. First up, we are going to hear from Jerry, hear her story of finding faith in Jesus, and how tonight's topic of freedom has impacted her life.
Hi, I'm Jerry and I study civil engineering at Cardiff University. And I'm from Kenya. I'm an international student. So when I think of freedom, I think of 2 things. I think of physical freedom, so that's not having constraints in your time or where you need to be at any time. And so like essentially what you want when you go on holiday. So, but I also think of freedom in terms of a way you live life. So living life from a place of love and making decisions not based on fear or insecurity or even like the burden of people's opinions on you, you know? And so yeah, that's what I think of when I think of freedom. It's like I'm free to mess up and have joy and just take the moment in. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So with the pandemic, I went home quite early because just before lockdown started, and while I was home, the restrictions meant that I didn't see as many people as I usually do. I spent a lot of time at home with family, like everyone else, which is great. It was, but it's still a restriction, right? And then when I came back, I came back in September, so I've been here since September, and I didn't get a chance to go home for Christmas. Just really, again, because of safety reasons for myself and for my family. And so in terms of restrictions this year, it's been both of those things. Yeah. I think what makes the freedom that Jesus gives different is that it's a gift. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to be anything to earn it. He just gives it freely. So all you have to do is receive it. And also, the freedom that Jesus gives is for its own sake. There's a verse in the Bible that says, it is for freedom that you've been set free. And it's like in the sense that you haven't been set free to be trapped again, but rather to live a life of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, all those good stuff. And that's why he sets us free for love, essentially. Yeah. It's the one that we desire deeper than anything we could ever imagine. We just don't know it until we receive it, no? Yeah. So one example of how this freedom that Jesus gives has changed my life is I remember in the last year of my A-level, so sixth form, yeah, I guess that's what you call it, I was really stressed out. I remember that it was like one of those things where it kind of hit me that my future is happening with applying to uni and like moving on from this. And I was terrified because I was scared I was going to fail. I was scared that I would be the person who peaked in high school, which is a terrible thing to say. But it was a fear, it was real. And I remember that year, because I had this just idea of what success was going to be, what a success is supposed to look like. It like haunted me. And so it meant that applying for uni was the most agonizing thing. And like, even just doing things like studying was like one of those things I dreaded more than I even wanted to do it. And I used to love it, which is weird, but it's me. And that year, like just going through that, it was really difficult. And I remember there's a point where I was just like, I want to know what God's will for my life is, because I know his plan is best. But I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. And so I remember around that time I read a verse. It's Romans 12:2. So it says, don't be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And essentially, I realized what I felt God was telling me was that why it haunted me so much, why that idea of success haunted me so much, was because it was what society wanted of me, what it defined as success. And that wasn't his definition. And I'd never even considered that I could be a success in society's eyes, but not be one in God's eyes, because that wasn't his plan. And equally, I could be what he considers to be a success by living in his will, and everyone would look and they'd be like, what's going on with her life? And so that freed me up, because at the end of the day, like, his plan is best, and I can know his plan by reading his word and being connected to him, remaining connected to him. And it's really freeing in the sense that it doesn't have to look like what everyone else would define as success. I could be a success by his standards, success. And it might not look like what other people would expect of what looks like success. And even it might not be what everyone around me, people who love me, expect of me to do. And yet in that, because it's his best plan, it's the most amazing thing ever, I'm free to enjoy right now. I'm free to give my best to this moment and just live right now, not worry about what will happen or who I'll be or what me 20 years down the line will think of 20-year-old me and those decisions that I made, because I know that that's in his hands. And I am free to enjoy right now because it's a gift from him. Even this right now is a gift from him, and I can enjoy it. I can take in the moment and enjoy the moment. Yeah.
That was really fab. Thank you, Jerry. Just something that stood out to me there, the fact that the freedom that Jesus gives is a gift. We don't have to do anything. We just have to receive it. And then as Jerry was saying at the end, we're free to enjoy. We don't need to kind of mark ourselves by the success of society. We're free to live our lives. I thought it was really great. Thank you for sharing that. So we're now going to introduce Fergal. He's going to come and join us again, I believe.
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing very well. How are you, Fergal?
Good. Yes, I'm doing well.
Fantastic. So can you remind us, for those who maybe haven't met you yet, who are you and where are you from?
My name is Fergal. It is an Irish name, which is why it has letters that you might not necessarily think it needs. I'm based in Portsmouth. This is where I live. So I'm loving living down by the beach at the moment. At least I get to see the sea in lockdown, I guess. And tonight I'm doing what I love to do, which is help students around different universities consider life's big questions. And I'm loving being with you guys in Cardiff. Even if it's over my Wi-Fi connection, it's great to be here.
It's
Yeah.
really great to have you.
Yeah, I was going to say, we really appreciate you being here. And you may have heard that we had a Slido poll out tonight. And we were asking people the question, what are you most looking forward to post-lockdown? So I suppose our question, we have the same question for you. How are you finding lockdown 3, as it has been named now? And what are you most looking forward to doing post-lockdown?
Or how am I finding it? I think Portsmouth, where I live, is great to be by the beach. But it's kind of like when they designed the city, they were like, how much green does a city need? Let's put it all at the bottom. So that means there's only really one place to go if you want to go for a walk. And you can walk around neighborhoods, but it's kind of a bit weird. So I think that ties into one thing that I'm looking forward to is being able to go on day trips and stuff like that. I absolutely love visiting different cities and exploring coffee shops. On Monday, I mentioned about Corner Coffee and how much I love that. I've heard about the Table tonight, and there's a few others as well, Citizen Coffee and loads of others that I'd love to come visit in Cardiff. But yeah, visiting cities and going to coffee shops is one of my favorite things. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. And before we hand over to you, could you let us know, what are you going to share with us tonight?
So tonight we're looking at real freedom, how lockdown made us realize the freedom we're missing. So we're going to be looking at what does it mean to be free and how have we learnt about that in this last 12 months that we've been living through coronavirus in one form or another.
Brilliant. I'm really excited to hear that. So we'll hand over to you now. Thank you.
It's time to see what I can do, to test the limits and break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free. Let it go. Probably you know where that song is from and you're cringing at me for singing it. Well, not singing it. I'm speaking it, almost rapping it. You're cringing at it because it's become so cliche in our culture, hasn't it? Frozen has become the kind of emblematic, the symbol of freedom in our culture, especially that song. Anyone who has walked around a supermarket and seen someone dressed as Anna or Elsa or even Olaf has probably heard that being sung at them and their parents looking at them kind of strange. Frozen, if you haven't seen it, is a story about Elsa. Elsa has a power that she can turn things into ice and she can create ice. But because of the harm that that can do to others, even though she doesn't understand why, she's locked down in her room on her own. She can't go outside to build a snowman whenever she wants. She has to stay home to save lives, to protect the people that she loves. But she's being forced to stay in and she's being forced to repress who she is. And so she eventually breaks free from her palace. And then she sings this. She sings this about the palace that she broke free from. Don't let them in, don't let them see. Be the good girl you always have to be. Conceal, don't feel. Don't let them know. Or now they know. Let it go. She breaks free from that place that was repressing who she is. And now she's living with no restrictions, no expectations, no parents to tell her what to do or who she should be. It's real freedom. Who wouldn't want that total freedom to be who they really are without any limits? 5 years ago, if someone told you that by now we'd be living in a time when our freedoms are limited, shops are closed, that you can only go and exercise once a day and you can't have a haircut for months, what would we think? We would wonder what kind of sci-fi world we were living in, and yet here we are. The reason why that would jar with us 5 years ago, if we weren't told the reason why, is because we live in a liberal society where freedom is the foundation of life. But in a pandemic, we understand that exercising our freedom could lead to overwhelming the healthcare system and thousands of people being harmed needlessly. So we understand our need to restrict our freedom. Even when there have been disagreements about how certain organizations, institutions have applied that restriction, whether it's to do with how many people are allowed in a kitchen or who should get what kind of treatment at what time, no one is arguing whether freedom is essential and whether harming people is bad. We all know freedom matters and harming people is wrong. Even when we disagree, we know that freedom is essential because we don't like anyone imposing on our freedoms unless they have a very good reason to do so. Last night, we looked at justice. We care about justice. On Monday, we spoke about purpose. One of the greatest injustices in our society is when people impose their view of the purpose of life on a society without any consideration for personal and individual choice. Those power dynamics have been in place in the World War and in different countries around the world, not just in the World War, but throughout the past century and centuries before then. And we've seen the tyranny it can cause. But for many people, they would point to Christianity and say, that's what I feel. It's a dominating narrative that enforces meaning onto people who don't choose it. That picture of religion isn't new. Come with me back into the first century when Christianity first emerged. Last night we heard about how Jesus in his life, he was killed by Roman crucifixion. It was a punishment for the most shameful sinner or an outcast. How did he end up there? Many of the religious people in his day said he deserved it for the things that he taught about who he claimed to be. And the Roman occupying force did it because he was supposing to be a ruler, supposing to be a king, and you couldn't oppose Caesar. But for him to be considered a sinner, well, Jesus quickly in his life gained that reputation for hanging out with the worst of the worst. Because if he is a man of God, if he's a man from God, supposed to teach us what God is like, then he wouldn't be eating and drinking with the lowest people, the people that God would obviously disapprove of, would he? That just doesn't make sense. He's a fraud and a cheat. So one time there was a crowd that was gathering around him, seeing him eating with these people. And many of the religious people began to wonder why he eats with them. So he told a story. Let me read it to you from one of the historical accounts of Jesus' life from the time that he was around. Now, the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear Jesus. But the Pharisees and teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." Then Jesus told them this parable. There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, "Father, give me the share of the estate that is mine." So he divided up his property between them. Let's stop there a second. This son that Jesus talks about in this story that he's telling has no care for his dad whatsoever. In a culture where family honor was crucial, it's unbelievable how he could be so dishonorable towards his father. He is essentially saying that the only thing stopping me from living my best life is the fact that you are still alive, Dad. Because you only get someone's inheritance when they've gone. But the father gives it to him anyway. That's almost as shameful as asking. So what happens? Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. He had nothing left. He had no security for when the famine came. He'd left the security of his father's house and he ended up in a pigsty. He chased independence and ended up chained. He had everything and now he has nothing. He pursued freedom and fulfillment and now he's hungrier than ever. He went to go find himself only to find that he's lost. Did you know that the average Netflix user spends 126 hours looking for something to watch each year? We think that uninhibited choice is the key to happiness. But is it? Is that all that there is to unlocking what life is meant to be for? At uni, we're free in many ways. We're in a faraway place often, and we have a sudden loan enter our bank account when we arrive. Even if we're not able to do loads of the things that we want, especially this year, we either hoped for that kind of freedom when we signed up for it, or we're hoping for it when lockdown is over. It's a lot like the life that the sun went after. No one asking you where to go at 3 a.m. No one disapproving of your choices. It's the dream. Lockdown has reminded us how essential freedom is, how much we miss it, hasn't it? But hasn't it also shown us how essential relationships and meaning are to us? When lockdown first hit back in last March, how many of us jumped on Zoom quizzes or House Party, Discord, or even just wanted to play Among Us with some real people online rather than just playing, I don't know, solitaire by yourself? Maybe you've been in a relationship during these times, these lockdowns, and you've been listening to the announcements about restrictions, knowing whether your next date is going to be legal or illegal. And maybe you've had your eye on the job sector that you've been working towards. And while you've been studying, you're wondering, what's happening to the job sector? Am I going to get the job that I've been studying for all this time? What's the point of it? What meaning does this have? And if you've been staring at the same four walls day in, day out, I bet at some point we've asked the question, what is it all for? You see, meaning and relationships often limit our freedom. Pursuing one life dream means saying no to a whole load of other things that we could be doing with our lives. Living with someone you love means leaving the house not in a way that just makes you happy anymore. One Australian social commentator, Mark Sayers, said, "We are drowning in freedoms, but we're thirsting for meaning. Our tanks of freedom are overflowing, bursting at the seams, yet our tanks of meaning and relationships are dry and empty." And what's been the outcome? What's the fallout? We're lonely, we're anxious, we're disconnected, we're divided. Try to be your best self and we'll end up slaving over our grades or counting our calories. We've rejected the meaning and relationship we were made for in pursuit of freedom at all costs to our own detriment. Elsa broke free, but she ended up in a kingdom of isolation, she says. She sang about how she couldn't control the curse and everyone around her was plunged into ice. So what happens next? What hope is there when we find ourselves lost after chasing freedom? So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him and kissed him. The son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father said to his servants, "Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." So they began to celebrate. "I'll work for my dad," he says, "and then I'll be secure. It'll take years of labor to pay it back, to earn my place again in my family." But his father saw him. He was looking for him. Imagine the scene. You're in the Middle East and a middle-aged patriarch is hitching up his robe and he's running through the village to meet his boy and he throws around his arms, even though this boy stinks like a pig. If the boy got to the village first and his father wasn't there, it could have been far worse fate for him. After everything he'd done to shame his dad, that the father got to him. After confessing what he'd done, he doesn't even get to the job application because his father doesn't want to hire him. The father gives him a robe. He gives him a ring on his finger, a symbol of the fact that he's in the family. Full dignity as a child again. The fattened calf that's killed would have likely have been saved for the wedding day of the older son, and it could feed about 300 people. In the story that Jesus tells, he's saying God is the Father who comes to us in the person of Jesus, welcoming the unwelcome and eating with the outcasts. In my first year of uni, there's a friend that I used to talk to about faith all the time. And I remember one time we were chatting and she got up to leave and she turned around and said, "I just think I'm too much of a sinner for God to love me." She closed the door and left before I could say anything, but I just wanted to shout, there is no such thing as too much of a sinner. He welcomes anyone back. He welcomes me back. He welcomes you back. Jesus tells this story to show that God's joy is in welcoming people home. That's why Jesus was found with all kinds of people that everyone else assumed God would disapprove of, or God, even if he did disapprove of things about what they were doing, they assumed he didn't love them and wouldn't welcome them. But the Father in this story has another son who gets it all wrong. This other son represents in the story the religious leaders who were tutting at Jesus. Meanwhile, the elder son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of his servants and asked him what was going on. "Your brother has come," he replied, "and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound." The elder brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, "Look, after all these years, I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders, yet you never gave me even a young goat so that I can celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him." "My son," the father said, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." He's on the outside looking in. He hears dancing and music. And when he hears why, he's livid. He's outraged. See how different this son is from the father. He's close to home, but he couldn't be further away. What shut him out of the party? He sees life as slavery, working away to earn his father's approval, keeping a list of what he's done, of his work, seeing his dad as his boss. Who are you working to earn the approval of? Just like the younger son, he wants his father's stuff, but he doesn't love his dad. He wants his father's stuff, but he wants to earn it. He hates his brother, but he's just like him, really. Does the older son come in? We don't know. The story is cut there as if to make the point crystal clear. It's a question being asked to us. Will you come in? Many people go through life seeing that there are only two ways to live. A choice between total freedom or total slavery. It's either the far country or it's the farm. Christianity, though, Jesus says, is neither of those things. It's something entirely separate. It's being a child of God, welcomed. No matter what you've done or who you are, finding freedom at home, being known and loved. The freedom we're missing isn't ultimately one we're missing because of any sociological or political reason in recent history, but because as far back in human history as you ever want to go, we've all taken what God gives us and done a runner to find freedom elsewhere. Eating with the outcasts was only the beginning. Jesus would become one. Jesus ended his life crucified on a wooden cross, executed as if he was one of the worst of sinners. What none of his accusers realized was that as he was completely innocent, he was exchanging places. A switch had happened. He was taking the place of every outcast who comes home to him. Our spiritual debt for taking God's stuff and doing life without him, doing a runner, essentially doing what the younger son did, shaming God that way, that debt is far too large for us to ever pay off to be welcomed in. But like the father of the story, he empties all of who he is. He empties himself, even his life. He's cast out, not just out of the city as he was on the cross, but out of life itself into the outer darkness, so that the forgiveness and welcome that he offers can be for those who come home. Will you come home? Rising from death to life in his resurrection, he stands on the other side, ready to welcome personally himself. The freedom, the meaning, the relationship we're missing is one he welcomes us back into with life with him. Will you come home? It's very possible that you're watching and you're tuning in and you don't know. Maybe watching this kind of thing just is very unlike you and you're not sure what to make of it. Or maybe watching this is very you and you're highly skeptical of it and you like hearing what other people think and you like debating it. Well, you're in a good place. This is the right place to be asking those questions. We're here all week to be answering questions and asking them. But can you see yourself in this story? Could you imagine what it would mean if it's true? What do you make of it if it is? What will you do about it? You don't have to say interesting story and leave it there. You can look further to find out what truth there might be in it. But would you come home? Would you come home if it's real? Maybe tonight you would say that you would. Jesus was a real historical person who lived, who died. And on Friday, we're talking about how we can know he rose again. Jesus came into this world to reveal that there is a God and he's like him. He's like this. If you've been far off or you've been slaving away, you can give it all up and come home. The towels are ready. The heating's on. He's ready for you and he'll walk you home. God's joy is in welcoming people home. If you are ready to come home, all you need to do is say, Father, I've done wrong. I've been lost. I want to come home. Why not say that to him now? Father, I've been lost. I've done wrong. I want to come home. And you can say amen, which means I agree. If that is you, Jesus says that there is rejoicing in heaven like the party that Father threw for everyone who does, because you matter to him. Would you come home? If you have more questions, keep tuning in. But if you have said that to God, if you said amen, if you say you want to come home, the CU is going to tell you how you can respond and how they can help get you connected and get started and find out what that means. Thanks for listening. It would be great to see you at some of the other talks we have.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much, Fergal. And as you said at the end, we would really love to just give you this opportunity to respond to anything you've heard tonight. So Laura's just going to tell you a bit about how to do that.
Yeah, so there's going to be a feedback form link that appears in the comments now or very shortly. And in a second, there will also be a QR code, which I believe is going to appear here next to me, which we'll give you a few minutes to fill out. There might be a variety of responses to what's been shared tonight, both by Fergal and by Jerry. And some of you have only come along to this evening event because a friend has invited you and you don't really feel like what's been shared tonight is for you right now. And that's okay. You're still so welcome and we're really glad you came. We'd actually love to ask you to share some feedback with us, and you can do that anonymously if you'd like, so we can hear what you thought of the night and what your reflections were on the event. Some of you are interested in what's been said today, and again, thank you so much for coming. Please also leave us some feedback and come along to some more events, which we will give you some more information for at the very end. There are some very big claims that have been made tonight, and there'll be a final group of you who this may not be the first time that you've been along to an event like this, and you're probably quite curious and you might still have some questions that need answering. You've heard what's been said tonight about the person of Jesus and finding real freedom, and you may even believe some of it to be true or all of it to be true. And if this is the case, we are so excited for you. There are some follow-up sessions happening in March called Real Life, and we would love to invite you to these. So if you fall into this group, please do leave us your contact details so we can send you some information. We firmly believe that following Jesus is the best decision that anyone can make. So if this is a decision you've made, it's a life-changing one, or if you still have questions about it, we would really like to talk to you more about that.
Yeah, so wherever you're at, we just want to give you this time just to respond, either using the link or the lovely QR code, which you can see here. If you watched along with someone, then why not just turn to them and share your thoughts? Maybe ask them a question, see what they thought of the evening. And if you're not watching with someone, but someone invited you along, either from the CU or just a friend brought you along, why not message them? Just see what they thought. And I know as a CU member that for the other CU members who have invited friends along, we'd love to hear back from you and just hear what you think, because as we've said, we think it's the best decision you can make, and so we would genuinely love to hear what your views are on what's been shared tonight. So we're just going to have a song now from Nathan. He's going to play just to give you time to maybe text someone, message someone, speak to someone, or fill in the form. But we'll be back shortly just to give you a bit more information about the rest of this week.
I'm just going to move out the way so Nathan can move on to the stage.
Spirit of the sovereign Lord is on me to preach
Thank you, Nathan. Welcome back. If you're still filling out the form, then please continue. We won't interrupt you. You can carry on doing that. Just to give you some more information about the rest of the events coming up this week. So tomorrow we have a healthcare-focused lunch bar this time. So that'll be happening at the same time, 12:30 tomorrow, and that is specifically for healthcare students.
But anyone can go along to it.
But anyone can go. And so the title for that is the end of the lockdown our only hope for the future? And you can find the links for that on the Real Cardiff Facebook page. Then again, there'll be another international Zoom call at 6 p.m. And now, I forgot to mention this yesterday. There is free food at these events for international students. So I think it was Domino's on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think last night I had free Domino's, and tomorrow is Hellenic Eatery.
Tomorrow is Hellenic Eatery, and I know that we're meant to stay impartial, but Hellenic is fantastic, and if you get a chance, go and get it. Other Greek-based food restaurants are available. If you're an international student, you can join the Zoom call at 6 o'clock, and the sign-up for that is on the website, which is www.realweekcardiff.com. And then we'll be back again here for our next evening meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m, looking at real love. And before we kind of say our goodbyes, can we put our camera back on? Is that all right? Now, as you can see, we've got a lovely decorated set, and it's changing every day, and we didn't mention it at the start. And so we thought we'd just give mention to these lovely paper airplanes and paper cranes and butterflies and balloons they've been set up, because
I've heard that some certain individuals had a lot of fun making these paper cranes and paper butterflies. So we thought it'd be a good idea to point them out and appreciate the decoration that's been done tonight.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Real love. It's just gonna be a bunch of like Valentine's cards.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what the set looks like tomorrow.
We will find out when you guys find out. Well, I think that is everything from us.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us again tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. We're going to hand back over to Nathan, and I am going to move off the stage so Nathan can play for us. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears have gone. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name, and I've been born again into a family. Your blood flows through my veins, and I'm no longer slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. Oh, I am a child of God. Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, and leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no way, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so good to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you